We're always looking for two things when we travel. We want authentic, non-touristy experiences, and we want great value for our dollar. And we honestly didn't think we'd find either of those things here.
We came to San Miguel de Allende thinking that everything would cost way more than it should. I mean, this is billed as one of Mexico's most beautiful towns, and sure enough, as soon as we got here, we could see why.
This city is gorgeous. It's just lovely. Everywhere you look, even the little back alleyways are just totally charming. And yes, the weather is kind of perfect. And yes, it offers a very nice lifestyle. So of course it's going to attract a ton of tourists. And of course expats are going to want to live here.
So when we decided to stay here for a whole month, we were feeling a little worried. Is San Miguel all about fancy restaurants and package tours? Were we just going to open our wallets and watch the money disappear?
Or can we somehow manage to have an authentic experience at a reasonable price? Well, we're going to find out. We're at the end of our month here, and this is the time when we tally up the final bill. So what did we get up to in San Miguel, and how much did it cost?
And if you're hesitant to come to San Miguel, what's a good alternative? But before we get into all of that, a big hello to all you adventurers. If you're new around here, I'm Gillian and this is Stephanie.
So we're traveling the world full time, trying to bring a little more adventure into your life. Now, let's go check out San Miguel. For entertainment here in San Miguel de Allende, we wanted to start our whole trip off right by having a tour of the historic center. So this is something that we always like to do when we first arrive in a place with a lot of history. And we can tell already just by looking around that there is a whole lot of history here to discover in San Miguel. So as usual, we've brought along Jasper and Huxley for the tour. They're being very well behaved, but I don't think they're retaining many of the key facts. Are you guys? So our tour guide described this next place as the most beautiful house in San Miguel, and I think I'm gonna have to agree with that. I mean, it's just gorgeous inside and out. And apparently it was a single family dwelling, if you can believe it. So that was just fascinating. I really enjoyed that tour. We got to see many of the key historic sites here in San Miguel. I love reading history, but it's even better, I think, when you have a guide who can tell you all kinds of stories.
San Miguel does have a lot of plazas where people can gather, but today we wanted to take a nice walk in an actual park. It's really just a few minutes outside of the center, but it feels like a little forest inside the city.
So this park is absolutely lovely. The next thing we're going to be doing is going up to a place called El Mirador, the lookout. So it's supposed to give an amazing point of view of the whole city. And I'm thinking it's going to be a bit of a climb to get up there. Well, this was pretty much what I was thinking. It's a very steep hill. I really hope we're almost at the top. Well, I am definitely counting that as my cardio for the day. On the map, it says it's just an 11-minute walk from the park, but I can tell you that's a solid uphill 11 minutes. Okay, and now I see what the fuss is about. This is a really spectacular lookout. So not only am I seeing the whole city, but I kind of feel like I'm seeing the whole region. I mean, you can just see right past into the mountains. It's beautiful.
San Miguel is really well known for its tradition in the arts. In fact, artists have been coming here for decades. So today we've come to Fábrica La Aurora. It's a complex with dozens of galleries, and we're just going to wander around and soak it all in. This place is actually huge. I can't believe how many galleries there are here. I never pass up the opportunity to check out a botanic garden along the way. So today I've come to El Charco del Ingenio, which is just on the edge of town. Now this one should be quite interesting because apparently it's all about the cactus.
lots of time to explore San Miguel. So today we're finally heading to another small city. It's called Guanajuato. And when we get there, we're going to do a tour. And it's basically the best type of tour that I could possibly imagine. It's a food and history tour. So it's my two great passions happening all at the same time. So we're starting this food tour off right with some very yummy baked goods. So this one is called a concha, and this one is called chilindrina. They both look really yummy. I'm just gonna have a taste. It's like a light bread with a beautiful sugar crust. All right, we're starting things off well. Oh my goodness. Okay, we're at stop number 2, and I'm having this glorious looking juice. So it's a green juice, super healthy, and it's got all the stuff you'd expect, like celery and parsley, but then something you wouldn't expect, which is cactus. It's really good. I mean, it's pineapple and orange juice, so of course it's going to be delicious. Can't really taste the cactus per se, but it definitely seems healthy. Oh wow, this looks so good. So this is a really special moment. I'm finally trying my very first tamale, and I'm really excited about it. So this one has spinach and cheese inside, and of course it's all baked in here with the corn. Oh yeah, that's great. It's got a little kick to it, nice and creamy, and then of course the corn kernels are just so sweet and delicious.
Hazelnut, whiskey with cherry.
Well, last month I tried grasshoppers in my guacamole in Puerto Escondido, so today I decided to try them in my chocolate. Oh, it's like a cream of grasshopper, totally unexpected. I don't know if I'm really tasting the grasshopper, all I taste is yummy.
So we're here at the big market of town, and we're going to be trying something that looks really delicious. I have my 2 puppies here, but they are not allowed to try any of it. This is for humans only. So it's going to be kind of a DIY taco situation. So we've been given some very beautiful fresh tortillas, and then this is some pork over here that looks absolutely delicious. And then over here, it's kind of a mix of vegetables, and one of them is cactus. And I'm gonna drizzle on a little of this. Apparently it's not spicy, this salsa, but I'll have to be the judge of that. And I'll fold her up and take a bite. Yep, Salsa's not spicy. It does have a little heat to it. The meat is really well cooked. And then that cactus adds an amazing texture. Wow.
Well, together with the carnitas, we were served some dorados, which are fried tortillas stuffed with something. So we'll just see what is inside. Woo! Whoops, I made a mess. Well, it looks like it's stuffed with meat. Let's see how it is. Well, that is very savory. There's definitely beans and meat, and it's delicious.
So I think this is easily the best tour I've ever had. We had a little something to eat, and then we had a bit of history, and then something more to eat, and more history, and so on, and all the beautiful sights. And now we're ending the whole thing with some ice cream. So it doesn't get any better than this. So you saw us trying a lot of amazing street food in Guanajuato, and of course there is lots of great street food here in San Miguel as well. But what really stands out about San Miguel are all the amazing dining out options, so really fine dining. So the dinner we're having right now is just a perfect example. We're here in one of the finer restaurants in San Miguel. We're in an absolutely beautiful courtyard. We're having delicious cocktails, and just look at this spread that we have. So we're having all kinds of yummy things. We've got some barbecued lamb over there. We have a little bit of corn with, I think, some bone marrow on it. And then we have this wonderful roasted cauliflower. I've never seen a dish like this. So all of it looks really amazing. And this is exactly the type of dining out experience that can really run up your bill in San Miguel.
On our first day here, I brought you along when I went to stock up at our local grocery store. Well, today I wanted to show you another store, City Market, just there behind me. It's an upscale grocery chain. It's absolutely enormous, and you can really find anything you could possibly need there. Really nice looking produce, you've got gourmet prepared foods, even a huge pharmacy. Now, having all these luxury goodies does come with a hefty price tag. So over here, there's some fancy looking juices. Let's see what we got. All right, these ones are 78 pesos, wow. We've got a nice display of charcuterie. Let's see what some of this costs. All right, this pack here is 235 pesos for this much. They've got cheeses. Here's 160 pesos for this brie. A bottle of wine seems to be a minimum of 300, but most are at least 600 or more. You can get Maine lobsters for 1,400 a kilo. Ooh, who doesn't enjoy a nice pastry selection? This pain au chocolat is only 18 pesos. I think I'll get one. I can definitely see the appeal of this store. It's like an even more gourmet Whole Foods, but this is a good example of how you can end up spending a lot on groceries here in San Miguel. Now, we always love sharing our Airbnbs with you guys, and this one was memorable for a whole lot of reasons. We just head on through here, through this courtyard, and this is us right here. We actually liked a lot of things about this place. Obviously, it's really colorful. There's tons of art and lots of little knickknacks everywhere. It's got a lot of character and charm. Sometimes we stay in Airbnbs that have so much IKEA furniture that they start to all look the same. But this place is definitely unique. The kitchen's decent, it's pretty well equipped for a month-long stay, but what we really love is the rooftop terrace. It's the perfect spot for coffee in the morning or a sundowner, and the view up there is just incredible.
So that's all the good stuff, but there were some things that we didn't love about this place, and we want to be really honest with you guys about the realities of living in Airbnbs. So when you're staying in an Airbnb for just a couple of nights and you discover that a light bulb isn't working, it doesn't matter because you're going to be moving on right away. But when you're staying for a full month, the way that we do, there's really enough time to discover all the light bulbs that aren't working. Now, the host was very responsive to all of our requests, but we had to make a lot of requests, and we find that that really takes away from our experience. All right, that's enough complaining.
Well, it's not really complaining. It's more like sharing what our experiences were, the good and the bad.
Well, if you're gonna live in Airbnbs full time, you really just have to know they're not all gonna be perfect.
Yeah, far from it. But you guys are here for the cost, so let's see what our month in San Miguel added up to.
Okay, we're gonna kick things off with entertainment, and in that category, we spent over $100 US.
Some of this covered admission to sites, but the really big ticket item was our tour of Guanajuato.
Yes, what's really interesting is that tour cost half of what it would have cost in San Miguel. So we thought that it offered really great value, plus we got to see a whole other city. Now, next up was our transportation, and that was another $100.
So most of this was for our private transfer to Guanajuato. We couldn't take the bus because of our dogs, and the rest of it was made up of super cheap bus rides around town.
Now, dining out, this was almost $400.
We really had to manage this category closely because there are endless eating options in San Miguel, and each one is fancier than the last. So our breakfasts out were typically $20 for the two of us, and dinner with drinks came to maybe 30 or 40 US.
Except for that really, really, really expensive dinner.
Just that one.
So we ate out a few times a week, and then the rest of the time we cooked at home, which brings us to groceries. So for groceries, we spent almost $500.
Now, I shopped at a few different places. I did go to that fancy city market a couple of times, but most often I shopped at the Super Bonanza, which is the store I showed you on our first day.
All right, our Airbnb. So now we're getting into the big numbers. This one was almost 2,000 US.
Yeah, so our Airbnb might have had a lot of problems, but that didn't make it any less expensive.
Yep. But remember, that amount also included a whopping tax of $250. So since this was our first visit to Mexico, we were pretty surprised by this tax.
For
It
sure.
really does drive up the cost of a rental.
It definitely does. Now, before we get into the total of what we spent for the whole month, we want to say that yes, San Miguel can be an expensive city, but it actually doesn't have to be.
Yeah, if you're mindful about where you buy your groceries and how many fancy dinners you have, and if you maybe do more independent touring, you can still have a full experience here, and it doesn't need to break the bank.
That said, we were really impressed by Guanajuato, and if we were coming back to this region, I think we'd probably choose to stay there.
Yeah, it's got all the charm of San Miguel. The historic center is even bigger. There are way more local eating options. So if you're hesitant about San Miguel the way that we were, you actually might consider Guanajuato.
And that brings us to the total. So our total spend for a month in San Miguel was...
Almost $3,000. And what's really interesting about that amount is it's basically the same as what we spent in Spain last year.
So some people might think of Mexico as a low-cost destination, but we wouldn't really say that that applies to San Miguel.
Of course, we had no idea what to expect when we first got here. Everyone said to us, if you're going to Mexico, you have to go to San Miguel.
And when so many people say that a town is amazing, we were thinking, how could it possibly live up to its reputation?
So if you want to see our first impression of San Miguel from our very first day here, you can click on the next video right here.